Welcome back to another episode of Hot Mess Espresso. We're doing a solo one today. I've talked about this on a couple of episodes that I've guested on, and I've always kind of try to figure out the right time to just kind of talk about some things that I've dealt with, my adult life and things like that. And I didn't really know how I was going to do it, and I didn't really know when I was going to do it, like I think I just said. And, it's just something that I just feel like I just want to get the story out there, so that when I meet people and things like that, it's not this big giant story. It's just out there. It is what it is. Um, I've been through a lot. I've dealt with a lot. And with all of this, I'm continuing to deal with a lot, but I just want to kind of get it all out there and just let it rest, I guess. I don't even know. But I've always joked that my back is beyond fucked and is just an absolute mess and a disaster and everything else. And we're just going to kind of dive into it. I know a lot of you have wanted more solo episodes and for me to just talk about my shit, because I spend 99.9% of these episodes talking about other people's shit and sprinkling mine in. So I guess we're going to dive in. It's not really a secret to pretty much anybody that has met me in person or really knows me super well. But for a lot of people that have followed me and don't know, I actually do have a permanent disability, and it basically started when I was 19. Again, back is fucked. We're going to go into it. So chapter 1, I guess, I kind of double checked details with my mom, because obviously I don't really remember. But I guess I started running a little weird when I was 3 or 2 or whatever. I don't know. The age kind of randomly changes depending. But this is just kind of a little bit of a precursor. Everything kind of shit hit the fan when I was 19. But I was running really weird. She took me into the doctor. Kind of brushed it off, I think it was 4 or 5 when they finally did an x-ray and found the first part of everything, which was the scoliosis, which ironically enough is the least of my back concerns at this point. So, and then they decided to do a CT, and the CT was really weird. So then they did the MRI. And when they did the MRI, I think it was 5. That's when they found what is kind of become the bane of my existence, which is a dermoid cyst in my nerve root. And your nerve root's in your L4, L5-ish. And if any of you have watched Dr. Pimple Popper, you know what a dermoid cyst is. It's just this thing of hair and skin that's usually on somebody's forehead or in a weird place that it shouldn't be. And mine is in my spinal cord. So it's they couldn't really do much about it. And then they found a tethered spinal cord, which you would think at this point I would know exactly what it is, but when you get a bunch of medical jargon thrown at you, you just kind of I don't know, and just you just accept it for what it is. But I think it has to do with your spinal cord landing and being stretched a little too far. And that can cause some issues because obviously it's not supposed to be stretched permanently. So they went in when I was 6 and did the first surgery, and I bounced back really well. They had told my parents and they had told me up and down, once her growth plate is, finalized and complete, and unless she becomes symptomatic, you guys are in the clear. So I hit 14, my growth plate finished. It finished in record time because I'm 5 foot tall. I didn't have that far to go. Scoliosis kind of chills out at a solid 55 degrees. And for most people, that means surgery. And I'll get into why I haven't gotten surgery for it in a minute. But fast forward to 19, it was college spring break. So it was mid-March. And I mean, the only limitation I really had throughout my entire life was I couldn't lift over 40 pounds. And which this one broke my heart. I couldn't ride horses. Because I fucking love horses. I love being, they're beautiful creatures. I absolutely love them, blah, 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 blah. So I couldn't lift over 40 pounds, which fine. Like I, looking back, like I've never really liked roller coasters. You're never going to catch me running a marathon, like, that kind of thing. So it's my life and my lifestyle leading up to it actually kind of set me up well for when everything came crashing down. And so I was 19. I thought I just had a really shitty bout of sciatica because my sciatic nerve was on fire. And if you've ever had sciatica, ugh, it's not fun. So I just thought, oh, I'd go back to PT like I did a few years prior. Because like my final MRI had been when I was like 15 or 16. Because we went to a neurosurgeon because we were living in Syracuse at the time. We went out to a neurosurgeon out in Rochester at U of R, and he was like, hey, as long as she's not symptomatic, like you're good, you should be fine, because that's honestly what they all thought. And that's clearly not the case. I was at work because I mean, I was working almost full time, going to college full time. Like, my life was normal. And then it just got worse. I had gone to PT for a couple of days. And I mean, this all happened within the span of a week. It was absolutely insane. I went to PT for a couple of weeks after my sciatic had me literally limping around because it was that painful. This is all in the beginning of April 2011. So I go ahead and I'm in physical therapy for like 2 or 3 days. And I remember it was a Wednesday night and I was stretching my lower back and I had rolled over to get up. So I was on my hands and knees to get up. And the second I hit my hands and knees, I was on the phone with my boyfriend at the time. And I just had this searing pain go all the way down my back. And I just screamed. And he thought like I got stabbed or something. And I was like, I can't move. My dad had to literally pick me up off the floor. And I was like unsteady for a little bit. And then I was like kind of walking around and I was like, all right. But like things just felt weird. So the next day, it was a Thursday, I went into physical therapy again. I told them what happened. They were running like a couple of, neurological tests. And I mean, y'all know what these are. Like, they're just like, squeeze my hand, push, I'm keep my hands apart, like push them together, whatever. And just things weren't adding up. And they were like, you need to go to your orthopedic surgeon. Because I had like a neurosurgeon and an orthopedic surgeon that I had always followed just in case shit hit the fan. That I usually saw like yearly. And I hadn't seen them in a couple of years because we had been told like, you're in the clear, you're fine. And then, so I go to my orthopedic surgeon, and my peds orthopedic surgeon was teaching or something like that. So we get this new guy who, it's actually kind of funny because my mom and I could not stand him at the time. Couldn't stand him. Now he's the best freaking thing ever. We just, we had to work around the like very frank, I know what I'm doing bedside manner because we were all panicked. We had no idea what the hell was going on. So we get in somehow, same day. And I go in for an MRI. And they realized that my dermoid cyst had gotten to the size where it was basically like compacting my spinal cord and like all but shutting it off because my nerves didn't have any like room to breathe, I guess is like the best layman's terms that I can explain it. So they were like, pack a bag, you're going to the hospital. So, I mean, I'm 19 years old flipping the fuck out because I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, I'm in just so much pain. I don't know what the hell, I don't know what weighs up. My dad has never dealt well with stress. So that was really fun. I also don't deal well with stress. So that was super fun because him and I were less than best friends at the time. So, fast forward to being in the hospital for a few days. We meet this neurosurgeon. She comes in. She's like, yep, like we're going to do this, and this. Like, it looks like your dermoid cyst is like, there's something else in your spine too. Like, we're just going to detether your spinal cord, which is basically put it back where it's supposed to go. Not that ever really lasts, by the way. It always retethers, which is kind of the problem. Everything's going to be fine. So we're thinking, like, cool. I'm going to have a back surgery. It's going to be fine and dandy. I bounced back when I was 6. I'm going to bounce back this time. I do not remember the first 72 hours out of surgery. So all of this is going off of what my mom has told me. I was on the table for 14 hours. I don't know why. Obviously my parents were flipping the fuck out because they told them that it would be 8 hours max. And obviously that's almost double. I was beyond drugged up and they were having to roll me every 30 minutes or something. I don't remember why. But apparently my mom had to leave the ICU because I don't remember any of this, but my brain does, and I was like screaming a lot apparently. So then 3 days in, post-surgery, and the surgery was May 10th, 2011. And in between April and May, I was just watching myself slowly get worse. Like, I was losing my balance. I basically had to, like, what I call bumper bowl, like just bounce from one wall to the other to get anywhere. Stairs were really difficult. I was just watching myself like completely be incapacitated. And I should note that I wound up at the hospital 3 days before my surgery because I couldn't handle the pain and I wasn't walking by then. So we did the surgery. They try to have me up and walking day 3, and I stood up and oh my God, the amount of pain I was in. I've never felt head to toe just straight up like, please kill me now pain before in my life. And apparently that was just a precursor to what I was going to be dealing with for the next good chunk of time. I had to get heparin shots, which they're a blood thinner, in my abdomen because I wasn't able to like up and move around. So to avoid blood clots. And if you ever have had those, it's like injecting battery acid. I remember the third one, I was like begging them to like jam it in my thigh because I thought it would be like better. I had a giant like black bruise for 3 months. So when I found out like last fall that it's in an IV form now, I'm like, these bitches. So I was in the hospital for 10 days. And I was rearing to go home. I just wanted to go home. I just wanted my own bed. I wanted to like just go to PT, bounce back, do whatever I needed to do. Like I was ready to go. I was by the time I'd gotten out of the hospital, I was at least on a walker. So I was out of the wheelchair, which was really nice. But like the house I was living in was a fucking 2-story colonial. So navigating that was not the easiest. Fast forward to sometime at the end of July. And if you're from the Syracuse area, you know what I'm talking about. It was K-Rockathon Day in 2011. And I could have looked up the dates, but we're not gonna. And this is valid for a reason. I don't know really what happened, but I woke up in a lot of pain and the pain just kept getting worse. And I don't know if you've ever experienced nerve pain. It feels like that part of your body is on fire, except for it was my entire body and it had induced a migraine. And I mean, I don't think there was a single part of my body that was not in pain. And I remember begging my dad. I was like, I can't move. I can't breathe. I was sobbing. I was like, I need to go to the ER. I need to go to the emergency room. And I finally convinced him to go. And of course I went on K-Rockathon Day. And if you know anything about K-Rockathon, you know that the ER is full of very drunk, very high, very underage detox cases. So I was in there for hours in agonizing pain, listening to a bunch of 20-year-olds throw up everywhere. It was lovely. So I was in the ER and I thought like, we'll just get the pain management and we'll go home. I actually wound up in inpatient like physical rehabilitation for 3 weeks because I also lost all of my progress within that day that I had gained. And that unfortunately kind of became a theme. It was, I would get out of the PT rehab, I was getting better, and then something would happen where I'd wake up and I was a lot weaker than I was. Um, and it kept kind of doing that. Fast forward to December or October, actually. We got a call, and 2011 is the worst year, one of the worst years of my life. Because all of this happened. And then on top of that, we got a call from 2 people that we don't really hear from. And we knew it was bad, and we called them back, and my godfather had passed away from what we think was a prescription drug overdose. It was actually methadone, I believe. And because he was trying to get off of it. And the last time I had seen him was he had actually come up in May after the surgery, and he had gotten me this like gorgeous purple orchid, and that's kind of why they're my favorite flower at this point. And I just remember the last things he said to me, and he had gone through 3 spinal surgeries himself, and had gone through hell. And this was back when they were just throwing pain pills at you and hoping for the best. So he developed an addiction, unfortunately, that he was back and forth on. And he finally had gotten off of everything and was on methadone in order to get off of it. And then it was too much for his body to handle. It was absolutely horrible. So he passed away October 8th. But the last thing he had said to me when I was in the hospital in May was he had asked me if they were giving me pain pills. And I think I had said like, yeah, or I don't think so. Like, I think we're good to go. I think we're just going to be on like a couple medications, but not for anything long. And he was like, good, because I lost 15 years of my life on these medications, and I'll be damned if you lose 15 on yours. I'll love you. I'll see you later. And that was the last thing he ever said to me. And June, July, August, September, 5 months later, he was gone. He had checked in with my mom to see how I was doing pretty regularly. But he had passed. And that was rough for a lot of reasons, and things kind of come full circle, which I'll get to. And then right after that, my grandfather was going through some shit. He was like just having a lot of lung issues and was on an oxygen tank. The last time I was able to hug him was 2 days before Thanksgiving, 2011, because when he had gone to the hospital, like right after, like he was able to come home for Thanksgiving, and then right after, he just got so much worse. Turns out he had a very rare form of lung cancer that had been a spot on his lung in June, and by December he was intubated. And I mean, that man was the strongest man I knew. I really thought even being intubated for 6 days, like he was gonna get out of it. And he unfortunately did not. But when he did pass in December, it was right before things really went to shit with me. So there's like a small part of me that's grateful that he wasn't there to see that. He was just my biggest cheerleader. I don't know if he would be I don't know if he would be super thrilled with the half the shit I talk about on here, but he'd be really thrilled that I was just speaking my mind and not listening to what anyone else is saying about me doing this. So 2011 sucked. January 2012, I think I just turned 20. So my birthday's on the 4th. And I think I made it into the new semester like 3 days. And I again woke up, and I went from I had been on a cane at this point, and I was like, I think like the week prior, I had said to my mom, I'm like, hey, I can take a few steps here and there, like without it. I think like, within 6 months I'll be good to go. And, we all thought that. Like we had no idea what the hell we were getting into. This was all basically a trial and error thing. But January 2012, I woke up, horrible pain again. I was like stumbling all over the place, so we wound up going back to the walker. Which tennis balls and all. We I now know why they use tennis balls on walkers. It's because the bottoms can scratch the fuck out of pretty much anything. And we learned that the hard way when we scratched living daylights out of the brand new cherry hardwood floors that my dad had put in. And thankfully there is like buffer stuff for that. But yeah, I legitimately thought that was actually going to be the end of my days because my dad loved that floor. I mean, they just sold that house. And we used to call that front living room the museum because after my parents divorced and we all moved out of there, he would just be like, "Oh my God, and I got new windows." And like that specific room was like a time capsule from 2013 for literally up until he sold the house. But so I was back on the walker, like I was in a ton of pain. We go back to the ER. I'd been to the ER a few times before then with like just the back and forth with pain, losing my progress, pain, losing my progress, gaining my progress, losing it. It was just like, it was a roller coaster and it was honestly the worst. And then couple into very important figures in my life that year was just an absolute shit show. And I hope to literally never repeat something like that again. Please and thank you, universe. So I wind up back in the ER. I will never forget that ER visit. Because I'm pretty sure my mom was called irate in the hospital notes because the doctor thought that I was faking it, sent psychology down. Because unfortunately by then I knew exactly what drugs did and didn't work because I don't know, I've been here before a couple of times. And my mom just he was like withholding pain meds. I think I was like 15 hours in the ER before I got pain medication. And my mom, he says irate. I didn't think she lost her shit to begin with. I mean, I've seen that woman lose her shit. She did not lose it on the doctor. And so thankfully the nurse the next morning and that doctor like got me on a PCA pump. I should know this terminology, but obviously everything's a blur because a lot of it's been blocked out, as you can see why. I'm literally referring to a million notes over here right now. The neurosurgeon came in because I had been admitted and told me and my mom that there was nothing that she could do for me surgically. So I was going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life and that I would just be on pain medication. And I mean, I was on a small pharmacy. I was on oxycodone. I was on OxyContin. I was on gabapentin. I was on some weird ass muscle relaxer. I was on a sleep med. Because obviously this shit was fucking up my sleep schedule. And I think I was on a massive anti-inflammatory. I mean, we had to have a notebook with a chart to like note because we couldn't remember when any of this was. And I was literally a drugged out zombie for 6 months. Like they would wake me up long enough to shove another pain pill down my throat and I'd go back to sleep. Like that's basically what I was from like January to May or June, basically. But January, this is like the only content warning y'all are gonna get. January is when I attempted to take my life because I was just not, I was miserable. I was like, I'm gonna have, in the house that I lived in with my parents were still together and it was incredibly toxic and it was just, I could not picture my life living with them for the rest of it. So I had it completely planned out. I had made sure that my meds were completely refilled, because I knew that my dad would absolutely kill me if I somehow survived this and made the family look bad. Because back then it was very much about status and how we all looked. So my mental health was always swept under the rug growing up. When I was like cutting myself, my mom literally said if she saw another one that they would send me off to the local psych ward and they wouldn't let me out until I was 18. Because that's just how we dealt with it in that family. Obviously, they have both very much changed their tune about mental health since then, and for that I'm grateful. But that, that's just what I dealt with. So I knew I had to make sure that I finished the job. Spoiler alert, I'm talking to you, so I didn't, because if anybody knows anything about me, they know I can't swallow pills to save my life. I legitimately cannot swallow a pill to save my freaking life. So I was having to take these one at a time, and it was like one of the very few times that I was home alone because I needed that much assistance, like huffing it from the couch in that front living room to the bathroom across the house was literally like running a marathon. Like I couldn't function. I could not move. Like I was literally completely dependent on other people to get anything done. Because I was that weak. I was that just completely incapacitated from the waist down, and it was less than fun. So I was taking them one at a time, and unfortunately my tolerance was relatively high because I was taking so many fucking drugs at that point. And my sister came home early, and she looked at the pill bottle in my hand, and she looked at me, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, I thought it was like time to, I looked at the chart and I thought it was time for this." And she looked at it and she's like, "This is the wrong med," because I was taking the oxycodone and I was supposed to be taking the oxycontin because the contin is the breakthrough one. I was like, "Oh shit," I got it confused, like, drug brain, like, whoops, played it off. She didn't know until probably about a year and a half ago that her coming home early is the only reason I'm alive. And for that, I'm grateful, because I wouldn't be where I am now. I promised myself I wasn't going to get emotional with all of this. Okay, so I was in physical therapy like 5 days a week, just to, according to my physical therapist, keep some semblance of being able to walk. I mean, I was taking like 10 steps a day at most, but it was something, because if I completely even lost the like mobility motion, I was fucked. So I was in that 5 days a week. I think it was 3 days land, 2 days water, 2 days land, 3 days. I can't remember. So I was also in water physical therapy. And at this point, I think it was like March-ish that I was getting like these nerve shocks. Like it would just start at the base of my spine, like shoot upward. And it was just really weird. And I just happened to tell my water therapist about this. And she was like, "That's not normal. Like, you need to call your neurosurgeon." And I was like, my neurosurgeon's already made it like abundantly clear that there is nothing she can do for me surgically. And like, my mom had been calling the office, and I still think to this day, I don't know, like, and again, I don't condone violence for the most part, but if I or my mom ever see her again, I'm not sure which one of us is going to beat the other one to swing on her first. Like, if you're in over your head and you don't know what you're doing, fine. If it's too complex of a case, defer. Don't fuck around with somebody's life, and don't fuck around with somebody's like spine, because her not knowing what she was doing, I'm not saying that like somebody who absolutely knew what they were doing was going to completely like make everything completely normal, but I don't think it would have been this much of a mess. So she's like, "Well, do you have an orthopedic surgeon?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like we do." So we called my orthopedic surgeon. And at this point, I was always in so much pain that I couldn't even lay flat. So an MRI was almost completely out of the question. I had to be literally sedated. Like, anesthesiologist put out like I was in surgery for this MRI because they decided to do a brain to hip one because I couldn't sleep on my one hip. And they didn't know why. And I'm sure I'm missing like minor details at this point, but I'm I'm getting the gist of it. So like roll with me here. They did a brain to hip MRI because they thought maybe there was something like misfiring in my brain that was causing all of this. So they did the whole thing. And then March 28th, 2012, I sat in my orthopedic surgeon's office, who, again, the stars all aligned. It was a God moment, whatever you want to think. He was in orthopedic surgery, but he had happened to do a fellowship in neurosurgery. So he knew both ends of my back, which I honestly think was the saving grace in all of this. So he sits us down and he's like, I know what's wrong with you. And we're just like, what is it? Oh, just to like go back. The surgery in 2011, she also had done a full lumbar laminectomy. And what a laminectomy is when you feel the like pointy parts of your spine, you can actually remove those. And like, so if it's like, you know, the pointy part, they can take this is like your whole vertebrae and then your spinal cord's in here somewhere. But so they take the top part off and like your muscles and stuff still like protect your spinal cord. There's like stuff there to protect it because I was a little worried about that. And he was like, unless somebody jams a knife in the exact direct spot. And I'm like, I don't think you understand my luck here, but okay. So all 5 of my lumbar are gone. The back part is still there, obviously, for like foundational whatever, but it gave my dermoid cyst room to breathe, which she claimed up and down she never saw. And I'm like, it's been on every image since I was like 6, but sure, Jan. So we're looking at the MRI and he's like, okay, your dermoid cyst is obviously gigantic because it didn't get touched last year. He's like, you just have bursitis in your hip. Easy peasy. I'm like, okay, whatever. He's like, the real issue is also the fact that I couldn't tell if I needed to like burp or not. It's fine. Everything's fine. He's like, you also have syringomyelia, which syringomyelia is fluid-filled sacs or cysts that are in your spinal cord. And that can cause compression and stuff like that. Like all of this had to do with my nerves being so compressed that they just like went night. But then when the surgery happened, I don't know what the hell she did, but there was obviously permanent nerve damage. So he's like, if you were my 20-year-old, I would send you to Cleveland Clinic. He's like, I know one of the best surgeons there. He's a personal friend. I'm going to give him a call. He's like, because otherwise you're going to be waiting months. So he calls him. We get in like record fucking time. Because again, this is March 28th. So we drive down there. They do, because Cleveland Clinic was definitely like ahead of a lot of hospitals when it came to like technology. So they had like a camera in the MRI bed instead of outside. I don't really know how it all worked, but that 5-hour one for me in Syracuse was 2 hours in Cleveland, and they did the same thing just to make sure they weren't missing anything. They also found a lipoma in my cervical, but that's never really been an issue. If I start to lose feeling and or function in my hands, that's when we're going to have to look at it. But I had a lipoma taken out of my rib cage and I was awake through that. So like that cake, it'll be fine. So we go to Cleveland. I will never forget this neurosurgeon looked at me, Dr. Ed Benzel, literally saved my fucking life. He looked at me and he goes, honey, your back is a train wreck, but we specialize in train wrecks. And I was like, fucking sweet, let's go. So they scheduled my surgery for June 26th, maybe the 25th. You would think I would know this, but like, you know, I try to like, you know, block out some shit. So I go in for the surgery and I'm like, it can't get worse. And thankfully it did not. I was able to actually like move my toes and shit like that, which is stuff I wasn't able to do beforehand. And I was able to move around a lot easier, and I was like bouncing back a little bit more. And I stayed there for a week. I this time I didn't have dissolvable stitches. I had actual stitches, which I was going to get taken out at my orthopedic surgeon's office 2 weeks after. It's a huge ass scar. It's like from, let me see, it's from like here to, it's like a foot and a half long, maybe a foot. I don't know. I'm really not good with measuring, so there's that. But that with regular stitches, laying flat's not like the best. Laying anywhere is not the best because you can definitely feel your skin pulling on the stitches. 0 stars, but it was much better than how I was dealing with the last surgery, so I'll take it. So I did a week there. I did a week in the inpatient physical therapy rehab again. Honestly, the only like super traumatic thing that happened at Cleveland was the one time that they just could not get an IV, and it took 2 hours and 9 sticks, and I basically hum Twinkle Twinkle Little Star every time I have to get a fucking IV because, you know, chronic illness and chronic pain. So that kind of like happens a decent amount. So I don't know how the hell I stayed calm. I'm pretty sure I dissociated or whatever through all of this. But I remember at the end of my week-long stay at the inpatient physical rehab, I was like, I want to get off the pain pills. And they were like, well, you know, you might still need them. I'm like, well, if I need them, I'll like say something. I'm like, but I just lost my godfather to shit like this. And this is now my 3rd spinal surgery. He also had 3 back surgeries. Like, I don't like the similarities. Like, I need to get off this shit. And I literally remember looking at one of the doctors and I was like, either you can tell me how, or I'm going to Google it. Because I didn't want to be on this shit anymore. And fun fact, even if you've only been on like a small dose of oxy and you've only been on it for 6 months, I learned the hard way that your body can still be addicted to it, because I had been prescribed some for like a minor procedure that I had a year ago or so, a couple years ago. I was still married, so it was definitely a couple years ago. And I took one. And thankfully my sister and I had always like had a thing where I was like, I don't want this shit in my house because I don't trust myself. So she'd literally handed me one pill to take, taken another oxy and hid it in my house somewhere. Told Will, who then described the location to me because he didn't understand what she meant. And I was like, well, I'm glad I don't have like an actual issue with this because to fail. And then she like just kept the rest of her house because she's like, I'll drive the half hour to, you know, give it to you. Like, because I was like, maybe I'm okay. Maybe I don't need to like have them. And she was like, let's just see how you do. I immediately got that rush of serotonin and I was like, oh, I can't ever take this shit again. I can't. Like, I would get that rush of serotonin every damn time. And I'm just like, well, shit. So like, I just know it's never going to be able to be a thing for me. Which thankfully I'm surrounded by people that are very supportive of me not taking any, or if I have to, it's like incredibly like hard to access for me so that I don't, you know, roll down whatever. But going back to that point in time, oxy withdrawals are fucking terrible. I had the shakes for months. I had a migraine for like a month. I didn't sleep for 72 hours. I was just throwing up all the fucking time. All the fucking time. I looked at my mom and I was like, I finally get it. I get it why he couldn't get off of these things, or like he had such a difficult time getting off of them, because this is actually worse than being on them. And that is the one like core memory I have, is trying to get off of those fucking pills. It was horrible. I never want to do that again. So I was able to get off of them. And then I had to get off the gabapentin and the muscle relaxer. And I think it took me like 4 months to get off of everything fully because I couldn't get off of everything at once, and I couldn't cold turkey anything because that would have been bad. Started off in a wheelchair very quickly. I was on a walker, then I was on crutches again. I was on crutches for a while, probably close to a year. So I think it was the summer that I was 21 that I kind of graduated. So this was summer of 2013, I want to say. It had to have been 2013. Like early summer, like springish is when I like graduated from crutches to a cane. And we've been sitting there ever since. And for all the frequently asked questions, no, I will not bedazzle the thing. No, I haven't hit anybody with it. Everybody asked me that. Everybody asked me that. And I will credit my restaurant career, my very short restaurant career at 18, for why I can handle so much with one hand because that set me up for this. So like, life skills, it's fine. But it's been a journey. I still like struggle with a lot of things. Like I have carbon fiber AFOs. So because my foot decided to literally just the outside like muscles and nerves on the outside of both of my legs into my ankles just like don't work. Somehow the inside was not affected, but the outside doesn't really work. And there's a lot of nerve damage. So my foot, where your foot just like naturally raises, it actually only raises on the inside. So I've got like a foot drop. So I just have like, so I remember one of my friends literally didn't know about it and was like, yo, why are you, in every photo I see you're wearing boots? And I'm like, so I can hide the leg braces. And he was like, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah, so let me give you a 30-second rundown of my life. So I have those. I could just like not wear knee high boots, but at the same time, like I get enough questions as it is. I have random strangers running up to me being like, what happened to your leg? And I'm like, oh my God, are you fucking kidding me? I've been a dick before and been like, bear attack, shark attack. Like I fell off a cliff, like, hiking or just something like crazy. Not just, I was born with bad genetics and it just went to shit one day, but also go away, Linda. Like I'm just trying to grocery shop. Can you leave me alone, please? Like, are you kidding? I think I'm in pain every day. I don't know, because you kind of get used to it. Like my 0 is probably a normal person's like 3 or 4. And I just do my best to manage it. I go to a chiropractor. Sometimes I'll remember to get a massage. I've been in and out of the ER for pain episodes for years. I mean, all of this hit 14 years ago. So I've been just dealing with this ever since then. But really, really dealing with it for the last like 13 years. It'll be 13 years next month, actually. So, I still travel. I still live as full of a life as I can. And again, like roller coasters were never my thing, and you were never going to catch me running a marathon. So, you're not going to catch me running now. It's just not really my thing. It's also why I tell people at metal shows I stay the hell away from the pit, because like my balance is still kind of shitty, but it's not the worst. I mean, I've lived as much of an independent life as I can. Like obviously I still need assistance with like a lot of heavy lifting, a lot of bulky shit, stuff like that. I'm again very grateful to have an incredible support system that has always been there to cover when my now ex-husband was gone for whatever reason. I mean, my sister used to drive an hour from where she lived to Batavia to help me out with shit. And again, forever fucking grateful. Like I joke around that her husband is the family husband, but he for sure is. Like he just, between me and my mom, he's just kind of stuck with all of us. But like trying to think of other things. I mean, and obviously there's nerve damage. There's a ton of spots of numbness all over my body, which is, if you guys fondly remember me talking about the 3rd-degree burns on my ass, that is how I got 3rd-degree burns on my ass, because I can't feel that part because of the nerve damage, which worked out because I couldn't feel like any of the surgery or anything like that, because I'm sure I would have been miserable. 0 stars in the whole process, but I'm pretty sure I got some cellulite burned off. So like it's a 50-50 kind of thing. I mean, mental health wise, obviously I've got some lifelong complications, and there are days where I am just like miserable about it. Like I'm in pain. I don't really feel like moving. I'm just miserable. Like, why did this happen to me? I give myself the 24 hours to have the pity party, and then I just do my best to move on with my life and my day. And I just, I have so many people in my life that actually don't know me pre-surgery. So I've always just been like this. And I have people actually that I've known for years that just found out like 6 months ago what actually happened and how all of this spanned out. Because to them, I'm just Heather. And for that, I am grateful. But I will say, as somebody who was able-bodied and then had like an instant, I mean, this can happen to anybody, not just like a medical induced disability, but like you can get in a car crash and not be able. So it's just absolutely insane that people with disabilities can be looked down on as not capable. And it pisses me off so much. Again, I'm surrounded by people that know what I am and I'm not capable of. And there's a lot of things that I can't do. And I do my best to live with that. Like I kind of am very much looking forward to not being in a split level house, having to haul groceries up a flight and a half of stairs by myself, because that's a workout and a half. And also like my back sucks after that one. Very much looking forward to like an apartment. I've learned a lot from this. I've learned a lot about my ability to just deal with it. Like I hate being called inspirational, because I'm not inspirational. I just got handed a shit deck and decided to play the best game of poker I could with it. There are some days I win. There are some days I absolutely lose. There are days where I push too hard and I can't get out of bed for 3 days. And those days are the worst, because like I still have shit I need to do. But I'm just living my life. I'm not here to be a motivational speaker. What I love to like eventually talk on panels about what it's like living with a disability, and how inaccessible society and everything else is. Yeah, because I have a fuck ton to say about that. Especially because things are, quote, like accessible, but they're not. Especially being a cane user and not a wheelchair user, things are actually a little more difficult because I'm in that weird like in between kind of thing. But like I have learned to swallow my pride and not be like, no, I can totally do this. Especially being over 30. I definitely take as many accommodations as I can manage 9 times out of 10. If I know I can do it, I'll do it. But like there's there's actually a little bit of a funny story. My nephew was taking his first plane ride with us. We were going on like a family vacation, and I use the fuck out of the wheelchair like accommodations at airports, because I'm not huffing my ass all over the place like that. So his first experience was sitting on my lap on the wheelchair, going to like our gates and stuff. And they went on another vacation without me, because I think they were skiing, and my ass is not skiing. I didn't even like skiing when I had to ski. I literally only skied in gym because I asked my gym teacher if I would pass gym if I didn't go skiing, and she said no. So hiking in the outdoors has never really been my thing. I like to look at the outdoors. I just don't like to hike to get to it. So he was literally like, well, where's my wheelchair? And we were like, no, buddy, that's only for for EE, and he was like, "Okay, my legs are tired." And it was just, it was they were telling me this story, and I was dying because I'm like, this kid is spoiled. I love it. It was just funny to me because it's just, to him, I've always been like this. So like this has always been normal and stuff. I actually ate shit in my sister's driveway the other day because I just backed up a touch too much, and I like just lost my balance, like bounced off my car and just fucking landed right on like my hip and my ass in the driveway. And I came in and I was like, oh God, I'm going to feel this tomorrow. And my sister was like, what? And I'm like, I just ate shit in your driveway. And this kid's like, I'm so sorry. Like I would have gone out to catch you. And I'm like, well, what? I would have crushed you too. Like, you're so sweet. And, you know, he's always been like so helpful and stuff like that. But I feel like we need to normalize some shit with disabilities. We're not circus freaks. We're not, you know, something to be stared at. Like, if you see somebody that's younger parking in the disabled parking, can you like turn off the bitch face before I get out of the vehicle? I didn't steal my grandma's tag. I earned this shit. So, as always, drop any questions in the comments. I'm sure I missed a thing or two or something didn't make any sense. I'm glad this is out. I never really meant to like hide it, but I just didn't know how to talk about it. And talking about it is obviously like not my favorite thing to do, considering I've been doing this for almost an hour, and I just literally went over as much of the cliff notes as I could. But yeah, ta-da, that's literally as much me as I could ever give you guys. I kind of like doing solo episodes, so there will be more as we go, especially like diving into, you know, starting over and stuff like that. And obviously with all the whole disability thing being out in the open, I'm going to be talking about more topics with that for sure, because I got a fuck ton to say about that after 14 years of this shit. So yeah, that is, I think I got it all. As always, you matter, your mental health matters. I need to start telling myself that a little bit more, because I'm like, everybody's mental health matters, just not mine. Everybody, you know, should have a space to be vulnerable and be real, except me. So we're working on that. We are working on that. But as always, stay hot, stay messy, and I'll see you next week.